Roll call.
Commissioner Harnell.
Here.
Commissioner Lambert.
Here.
Commissioner Twomey.
Here.
Commissioner Boyson.
Here.
Chair Aldridge.
Here. We're starting tonight with a public hearing, 620 Highway 2, temporary storage container. And I believe we need to make a call here to get them on the line.
Hi, Warren. This is Jessica Rich. I'm calling from council chambers for the city of Proctor at the zoning commission meeting.
Hi.
We are coming to your item on the agenda, and you are on speakerphone with the commission.
Sure.
Hello, this is Tom Aldridge. I'm chair of this group. And what is your name, please?
My name is Warren Nelson.
And could you explain to us what you're doing there at that property?
Pardon me?
Mr. Nelson, Chair Aldridge asked you to explain what your proposal is for that property.
The proposal at this point for the property is we own 3 construction companies, mostly residential construction companies, and one of our biggest needs we'd like to utilize is a couple storage containers to store a lot of our overflow and seasonal items such as frost blankets and scaffolding. And during our busy seasons, we can pre-buy some construction materials, solar panels, some brick, stone, maybe some spec mix mortar. Rather than have it sit outside in the elements, we'd like a place where we could just store it in a storage container. I think we'd look at some point is possibly, if the zoning conforms to maybe building some type of a storage building, but at this point we'd just like to get a couple storage containers.
Thank you.
We have questions? Go ahead, Mr. Arnell. Oh, I thought you had a question.
I don't know, he just said a couple storage containers, but you're looking at 8 storage containers, is that correct?
I would start with just a couple. That may be all we need, but I thought if I'm going to get a permit and I needed extra ones, I'd like to have the ability to have 8. Right now it'd be 2 or 3.
So my question is, okay, now we look upon these as temporary storage units. Now, it sounds to me like you kind of want permanent storage units because you say maybe someday in the future you'd like to put up a building to replace
Yes.
these storage containers. Well, maybe someday in the future, that, that could never happen, of course. So then these would be permanent storage units. So that's what I have an issue with.
I kind of lost you there.
Well, how long do you plan on keeping these?
I don't know.
I know, that's the problem. I shouldn't say that's the problem, but that's my issue. Like you say,
Okay.
you'd like to put up a building maybe someday.
Yes.
Well, maybe some days generally don't ever happen. And,
Okay.
and we're kind of sticklers about these containers, and they're okay on a temporary basis for a lot of things, but I'm not a fan of a permanent 40-foot storage unit. Not,
Okay.
like it or not, you're in a residential zone because you abut one.
They abut.
And
I heard a little bit of your last comment.
You're on a C2 piece of property, commercial enterprise, and you're abutting residential property there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I've known other people with a 40-foot long storage container, and they really aren't very good to store things in because you put something in the end of it and it never seems, you've got more effort and time into moving stuff around to get at what you put in there, so personally, I don't see that's not my concern though, but that's, they aren't very good for what you want it for, not that long. Shorter ones are better, but anyhow, I'm not a
If you would
fan.
ever get up to having 8 of these containers, it will somewhat have the appearance of Don Den's down there near Carlton. They're not too pleasing to the eye, especially sitting right alongside the highway there. I have a tough time with that. And then this fact of the time frame, if it was, you were looking for these storage units to be there for 6 months or a year, but not endless.
Mr. Nelson, is your company using the buildings on the property?
Yes, we are.
And what goes on there?
We have basically we're parking a septic truck, and then we're also using it just for storing our drain cleaning equipment.
So this is a commercial zone, and it looks almost like you're using this like a industrial type property. I don't see a commercial face here at all.
A commercial phase?
A face to it. I don't see a commercial face to your business in Proctor. Looks like your commercial part of the business is probably actually at the air park. Is that correct?
No, our residential. We do commercial drain cleaning and septic services too, so. Our residential plumbing and heating is actually up in the air park, so.
Yeah, I think Chair Aldridge was getting at, if customers were to find you, would they find you here, or would they find you at another location to like speak to?
Well, hopefully they'll find us in Proctor,
Okay.
so, yeah. The air park location we're at's not on a residential, it's not on a main thoroughfare. It's tucked back in the air park, so.
And there is no room there to put a couple of containers, I assume.
No, that's why we want to store them there. I have no room to store the storage containers up at the air park location, so. Or I don't have any room in my facility, and it's just primarily for my seasonal overflow stuff. And rather than it sitting out in pallets outside, I'd like to have it, enclosed in some type of a container, so.
I can appreciate that. It would be more unsightly to have it all, a bunch of stuff piled up outside.
Yeah, I'd rather not have it randomly laying around the property. I'd rather have it somewhat organized until we can determine when and if and how. I haven't even got that far if we were to put up some type of building there, if it is even possible, so I haven't got that far. But I do have a need kind of immediately to store some of my overflow and maybe allow us to purchase some bulk buy things, so.
Well, I think the only way I could vote to allow something like this would be with a time limit on it, that,
That's fine.
if your business proves profitable enough that you would be putting up a building, or you just begin going out of business maybe, but to allow you to permanently put up to 8 of these things on the property, I could never vote to allow you to do that.
Yeah, I would really like to spend some money and do some upkeep on the property and get it cleaned up and have it so it's a nice looking building. I'd really like to do some improvements to it, so that's kind of my plan.
Well, and I can appreciate that, and, you know, like everybody, money's tight right now too for everybody, so I can appreciate that too.
Yep.
But I think a time limit is the only way I could vote to allow you to do this, so.
Okay,
And we'll have to decide that amongst ourselves here, what would be appropriate.
sure.
I guess this is Commissioner Harnell. I feel the same way. I think there should be a time limit on it as well. I'll just throw that out there as well.
Sure. So I guess it's, yeah, you guys' court, whatever you guys figure, get back to me and let me know.
The-
We'll conduct the business here on this within the next few minutes, so you could just hang on and we'll have it all done here pretty soon. Anybody with thoughts on the number that he's asking for?
Too many. I mean, that's 2,500 square feet worth of buildings, so, I mean, I would be open to reducing the number.
And what kind of number were you thinking of?
Probably 3 or 4. And I'm also a little, I'm kind of confused about this timeline thing. I mean, we have it written that we can give a conditional use, or we must give a conditional use for this to be on the property. It doesn't ever say anything about that there's a timeline on it. I need clarification on that, I guess. All the ones that we allowed prior are gonna be there forever. So to me, giving them a conditional use permit that we can put our restrictions on it, but to me, it would be allowed there forever, personally. But
John Bray, is that something
I'm
we
sorry,
can do?
Warren, I accidentally
can.
disconnected you. Put you back on speaker. Dang.
Well, like the other ones that we have allowed, you know, it hasn't been quantity, has it?
no,
Right. So that's my issue with it. If you just wanted to put one of these things there, maybe I could deal with that fine. When you start putting, 3, 4, you was asking for 8, which is, to me, is way out of line. But, one is it wouldn't be a big thing, I mean, it's not in your face a lot. It's still there, but not, 2 maybe you can, squeeze by with, but you start going over 2, then to allow them there forever, I don't like, personally. Like Jim said, you start looking like that Don Dens down just by the casino. And, haphazardly thrown on the property and stuff.
yeah, I mean,
this mentioned
we can restrict how he puts them, and, I mean, I was thinking about maybe making them fence it on the 3 sides, potentially.
Well,
And,
okay.
and that's, in my view, better than the alternative of stuff just laying outside.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. That's why I said I can appreciate the fact that, it would look pretty tacky to have a bunch of stuff on. It would look like street or masonry, down in West Duluth when you come down the freeway and you look down, if you know where that is downtown, down in West Duluth. That looks pretty shabby there. That's what would end up being there.
But the best alternative for the city of Proctor would be for a permanent building to go up.
You're right. And
No
that's
question
why I
about
said
that.
if we put a time limit on this, which I think will, I don't see a big problem with that. Granted, we've allowed the other ones forever, but, I think the situation isn't quite the same. Most of them aren't right on the highway coming into town. They aren't right next to a resident, people are gonna overlook them and stuff like that. I think we're within our rights to put a limit on it and say, hey, if it works out for you,
And I think these conditional uses, each one's a separate case. The conditions of each case can be different. They don't have to be all the same.
Right.
Because I think that a time limit is really crucial, if that's the word. Otherwise, we might be sitting there for 20 years.
So do we have any more information for the public hearing? And if not, then we can go back to our regular meeting, and then we could move forward in the regular meeting to take action. Are people ready to do that? Okay, I'm closing the public hearing, and we're back in the regular meeting, and I would like to go ahead and complete action on this item, if we could do that now.
Yeah.
I was thinking 18 months might be an appropriate time for Mr. Nelson to come back and revisit us, I think a sunset at 18 months would be a good time on this.
Yeah, I would have said a year, but I can go with 18 months.
Yeah, put him in the summer next year.
And it should be as 1 year with no extension. Or if you wanted to go 18 months with no extension.
Right.
In other
Yeah.
words, can't just come in and renew it and I'm good for another 18 months.
Yeah.
You know, if he was getting ready to pull a building permit or something 18 months from now, I would go along with continued use while that was going on.
Yeah, because that would give them, what, 2 building seasons, 2 summer you know? Give them this year, this summer and part of the following year to, have decent weather to build something.
Well, that's about 18 months then.
Yeah, 2 seasons, two building seasons.
I was thinking of a number of 3. I don't know what other people were thinking.
Is there any buffer between the ends of these and the road there? It seems to me there is some trees or brush there.
Yeah, I took a drive by there on my way over here to look again. And along the highway, you don't, they're fairly obscured from the highway because there's a bunch of spruce trees and, balsam trees there.
And they're up high.
Yeah, and they're elevated off the road. And there's some foliage between, the house on 6th, the first house on the left of 6th Street, and then there's across the street. So they're somewhat hidden.
None
You
of
know,
them neighbors have commented on this then?
So, you're thinking, what, 3 of them, Tom?
That was some,
I'd say 4. I'd say maybe 4. That way we cut him some slack if he wants, to buy material ahead of time and stuff. But tell you, like I said, these things are the worst things in the world. You can't forklift it. You have to forklift everything in and out. And yeah, you keep it better off to build them, buy a couple of garage, and they're expensive to buy too. Yeah, you could throw a couple of garage packages up for a whole lot, not a
They're
whole lot
about-
more money.
They're about $4,000 to $5,000 a piece.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so you could put a couple of garage
He's got
packages up.
$30,000, $35,000 into containers. You could almost put a 8-foot 64 by
Yeah,
40 pole barn up for that. Not quite, but
yeah, it wouldn't be a whole lot more and have something a whole lot nicer. Anyhow, that's his call, of
his
course.
choice. Yeah.
Do we want anything in there, there's a wide range of containers out there. Some are pretty shabby and some are pretty clean and nice looking. Do we want anything about that or no?
if you've got language to propose, I'd like to hear it.
See, we
I guess,
allow-
I don't know, if it's temporary,
Yeah, temporary, up to 18 months for maximum of 4 containers.
is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do you guys want to talk about access to the property, like hours of access to the property, or? you can go in there
To
whenever?
me, that's not an issue,
Okay. I didn't think so, but.
Yeah, but it's a concern, though, but
What about fencing?
Again, if it's temporary, I don't see a point anymore.
no, maybe we could encourage them to plant a couple of spruce trees or something more along the residential side there a little bit. But, that's about all.
I'll support that.
Okay, we have a motion and
Okay,
support.
how about appearance? Can we require them to be maintained, you know, like painted, stuff like that?
Painted the same?
Yeah, so you don't have a brown one and a green one, and,
Yeah.
because you see they come in different colors.
Probably if it was greens in color, it'd be more like the color of the trees there.
So we'd like to have them uniform in color and no graffiti.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, so motion be up to 4 containers for 18 months, and they all must be painted a uniform color, preferably green.
I'll support that again.
Fluorescent.
Any further discussion?
Not Kermit green.
Hearing, I think we need to do a roll call, the way we're doing
Yes, we
this.
do. Should.
Commissioner Harnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yes.
Commissioner Twamy,
Here?
Commissioner
Yes.
Boyson,
Yep.
Chair Aldridge.
Yes. Mr. Nelson, you still with us?
I am.
Okay, so we just gave you permission for 4 containers for a maximum of 18 months.
Okay.
And we're hoping that you'll be seeing us for our building permit by the time that runs out.
Okay.
And also that all to be a uniform color, you can't have a red one and an orange one and multiple colors. Must all be the
Okay.
same color and preferably green, because there's a lot of evergreen trees there and they would blend in well,
Okay.
so.
Sounds good. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Mr. Nelson.
And time to go right into the second public hearing. Application from Proctor Schools for temporary storage containers on 704 Kirkus Street. And Jay, are you the person to speak on behalf?
Yes, I'm going to represent PAHA, which is, the school did the application because they're the property owner, but PAHA is the actual owners or users of the containers, so I'll represent them. Therefore, I'll abstain from any motions or voting. So, these 2 containers were donated by the CN. We got an awful lot of donated time by some Lakehead that did all the cutting open of the sides. So the middle will be used as players' benches, and on each end, there's like a separate little room or whatever that they'll store equipment and whatnot in. They're actually put on helicoils, so they're never gonna move or anything like that, shift. As far as a building permit, if this is approved, we should require one, and then just, I don't know what I'd look at, probably just safety things, make sure there's no sharp edges and whatnot. Structurally, I don't have any concern about it. They put a big steel beam across the opening and whatnot. And it's just, they felt it was a good fit, kind of, the shipping train theme or whatever, plus they were free. And then also, they're just so durable. Obviously you got pucks flying around everywhere, and wood siding or vinyl siding or steel siding doesn't, take that abuse very well. Everyone knows what the old one up at the old rink looked like. Windows were busted out and siding broken and whatnot. So, in my opinion, they're perfect for that. So, that's about all I have to say about it.
So no heat, no electricity, just,
No, correct. And they would be, in the summer, they're going to get painted a uniform color also, so.
By cutting the side out, Jade, is that, who engineered this? Just John Doe that welded in the beam and got two uprights?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't engineered,
Of
but
course, there's not
it's
a
not.
lot of weight to just half that roof, I agree.
No, I mean, that was one of my concerns, but I mean, if you look at it, it's
I drove in there
pretty
today,
beefy.
looked at it as well as I could. Is the cutout go all the way to the ground? Or to the bottom, I should say?
Yep. And obviously, them are the players' bench portions of it, so.
I would think, I'm not an engineer, but I would think because it's corrugated, it would add strength, I would think.
Yeah.
It's corrugated
Structurally,
both ways, and it's
Structurally,
pretty,
I'm not
they're pretty
concerned about
thick.
it at all.
Are they anticipating painting those too, or?
Yeah, obviously, they have
They
to
kind
wait.
of, you don't hardly notice them unless you go looking for them.
No, they did a really nice job on setting them in there, and they fit in with the environment pretty nicely, I think.
Yeah, I thought it, like you said, it's got that railroad theme, you know, I thought maybe it wouldn't have derailed cars down there, they just pulled it over to the side.
Is it still gonna say CN on the side of them? Because I noticed that when
I don't know,
you
maybe
first
they'll-
got them.
Maybe they'll leave that part or repaint it or
Or-
something. It's kind of cool, though.
Maybe DM and IR maybe or something, a little cooler.
John Bray, I need a little help on this one. So these two containers came in.
Okay?
They've been modified, so they're not really shipping containers anymore. They are now a player's bench with storage area. So it's kind of like a dugout.
Yeah, right.
So when it's no longer a shipping container, should we be giving a conditional use for a temporary storage container if it's no longer is that? Or should we just have a,
They're going to be temporary anyway.
well, these aren't temporary, they're,
They're going to be permanent?
yeah, they're permanent and,
Yeah, seasonal permanent, I guess I'd call them.
well, they'll never be moved though.
Right.
It's not like a dugout for hockey.
Right, I get it. That should be a recital in the conditional use permit, though. You know.
Or should we do a building permit to,
I think you should do a building permit. I mean, it's not a storage container, so you're not really granting a conditional use permit for storage containers. I think if it meets with the building code, then yeah, that would be the proper way to address it, just through building permit.
Jay, your opinion on that?
Well, yeah, that's fine. You're saying no conditional use permit then?
You know, unless, boy, it's kind of a weird situation. No, I don't think a conditional use permit is necessary if it's not one of the permitted uses, but only through a conditional use permit. I mean, if you're gonna have storage containers, yeah, it would be proper to address it through a conditional use permit, but that's not what these are. And they're gonna be affixed to the ground. Make sense?
Yep. Being it's been modified to a dugout almost per se, it'd probably be better just under a building permit rather than conditional use.
And you think of any code issues with using those as permanent kind of structures on the property?
No, I
Think of
mean,
any off cuff?
they don't want people living in them, I don't think,
No.
but this is,
Looks like a good use. They'll look okay once they're painted.
yeah, I'm good with that. That sounds great.
So are you going to withdraw the request for a conditional use? Or do we need to vote on that?
Just pissing me off here.
Oh, yeah, I can just withdraw the request on behalf of the school in Paha.
Everybody okay with that?
Somebody know how to help me with a formatting issue? I'm doing this conditional use permit, and I'm just.
Is the fee also gonna be waived on a
Number the
building
previous
permit then, I
paragraph. Won't
hope?
Let me move it down on the very last paragraph.
Since it is kind of a park
So-
and rec?
That's the question for, I don't think she listened to you.
Is the fee gonna be waived on a building permit, I hope? Because it is kind of a parks and recs type thing, I would hope. I know I saw that, and I would hope that we'd do the same, I guess, as a taxpayer,
Okay.
I
Here's
just-
the problem.
as it benefits
I'm
our
gonna pick a
city.
number. Watch what I,
Yeah, because, I mean, that's very true. The public is welcome to use those rinks and very often does, so. It's kind of a
Yeah, I was
community
chatting
thing.
with the guys over there this morning. Those are guys I know that show up and
yeah.
So this,
knock a
what,
puck around.
what this tells
Sure.
you is
Old
you
guys
want
in
it
my group.
justified, which
Yeah.
means you want your,
More and
all your
more this year,
lines
it
to
seems
line
like,
up.
this winter.
So this is just paragraph, and then it'll.
Nothing else to do.
Got it.
And Jay, that's something that a building permit can be issued for those things.
Yep, yeah, definitely.
All right, you guys want to take a look at this conditional use permit I just did right now? I can save it, email it to you, and you can send it around.
Sure.
We are down to minutes of the November 23rd meeting. I had a question in here for you, Jay. Was that shed that needed to be moved, property line issue?
Oh, yeah, in Kingsbury?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's resolved now. Both parties have resolved the issue.
So, in here, I thought it was already moved before we met in November, but was that the case?
Well, the one property owner had taken care of their issue, but
The second one hadn't occurred yet, so the minutes are right?
yes, correct.
Okay, that was my question.
And we never had to send them another letter, actually, kind of just made some phone calls and got it taken care of, so.
Yeah, I heard it had moved, but I didn't remember if it was prior to or after the meeting.
Yep, it was after, so they're correct. So I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll support.
Any discussion? I guess we're doing roll call votes on everything now?
Commissioner Harnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yeah,
Commissioner Twamy,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyson,
Yes.
Chair Aldridge.
Yes. We have the year-to-date building permits in front of us.
Do we need to do the agenda first?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Because do we want to add the annual
Should.
designations or whatever it's called there?
Yes. Thank you, Jay.
What do we put that under, just one
New business, I guess.
new business?
So we're adding 6B, annual organization meeting. So we're on unfinished business. Or did we vote?
You did not vote.
We didn't vote. Okay, we need to approve the agenda. Did we have?
I'll make a motion that we accept the amended agenda.
And do we have support?
I'll support.
And roll call again, please.
Commissioner Harnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert,
yeah.
Commissioner Twamy,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyson,
Yes.
Chair Aldridge.
Yes. And with that, we're falling down to number 5. 14 Third Street Garage, anything new going on there?
It's in Bray's hands, as far as I know.
John Bray, has anything occurred there?
I still need to get you guys a copy of that letter, so, yes, but I need to let you guys see it.
Okay.
What was our issue with that one? I don't recall.
Well, he
Added on a lean.
added onto his garage,
Oh, okay. yeah,
basically
no,
a wood floor
I just-
shed.
Right. no,
And then he got an engineer to sign off on it, but doesn't meet the zoning setbacks, so,
Yeah, okay, now I recall, I just
yeah.
couldn't place it. Stoddy's old house.
And we sent him a letter telling them that, and there's just been no response or no.
If you'd have said Stotty's old house, I would have known
Yep,
exactly.
yep.
6A, I think, is a reminder for us.
Yeah, if you're okay with that, as these conditional use permits are coming up more often, and variance requests, I would add that as well. We just need to get them published in the appropriate timeframe.
Yes.
It gives us time to ask some questions of the applicant, clear up some things before it comes to you, get it published, get the notices sent out to residents. So we'll be, I mean, there's a little bit of time, a little bit of leeway in that time, and we built it in purposely in case someone comes in a couple days late, that we can still get it in the newspaper. But, and then also with that application process, you need to be keeping the 60-day rule in mind when applications come in. And sometimes that gets a little fringy if we have to bring the conditional use permit language back to you and then to council. So I would propose that you would just, the minutes would reflect what you want in the conditional use permits. Attorney Bray drafts them, and then they go to council. I don't know if they came to you before, once the language was drafted.
Often.
Okay. Are you okay with the process of it going straight to council from here?
No, it's fairly easy for me to, I have my laptop here just to kind of peck it out while I'm here. I'm trying that out tonight.
Okay.
I think that makes some sense, so there's no delay.
Yeah. If you start pushing that 60-day rule, it could get us in some hot water.
Well, especially if we wanted to deny. But if we denied, we wouldn't be waiting for John Bray to be doing the conditions.
True that,
So
yeah. Well,
a person could disagree with the conditions.
true, and council has final say on a conditional use.
Yes.
So maybe, but I think it'll speed the process along and have a clearer process for the applications.
Yeah, I don't want to prepare a conditional use permit in advance because it makes it look like we've already made a decision. And I
Yes.
don't know what the conditions are necessarily going to be.
Right.
What's an example of something that you're talking about, like a concrete example for a guy like me? Are we talking about like that used car lot, or like
I think what she's saying is, I mean, before we would make a decision, and then we'd wait a whole month
Yeah.
to review it and approve it, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes to council, which is taking too long.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
she wants us just to be okay with it going to council with, after we talk about it at this
Okay.
meeting.
So once we voted, I'd be happy to see it as an attachment to an email and be able to read through it. And
Yeah, just to make sure it was what we meant. And I mean,
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that,
You could. I mean, if it's okay, I mean, she can run and go get it or forward it to you guys.
I'm happy with them being forwarded and respond if there's a problem. Is that okay with everybody?
yep.
yes.
Thank you.
Ready for 6B? Annual organization, reorganization.
Is it just for, it's for chair and vice chair, right?
And chair of whatever it's
Committee.
called on variances,
The variance committee or
where
something?
Bob usually asks
Yeah,
me to
it's
chair the
public,
meeting anyway.
Oh, Board of Adjustment?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just make a motion that we keep the same people as last year in their positions.
Yeah.
How's everyone's health? I just want to ask that first. Everyone feeling okay?
Got my shot.
You did? Okay, I'm okay with it then.
Was that a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 We should
Any-
do,
oh,
Aye.
sorry, yeah. I
Yes.
Interrupted. Commissioner
Yes.
Harnell, Commissioner Lambert,
Yeah.
Commissioner Twomby,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyson?
Yes.
Chair Aldridge?
Yes.
Can we just get clarification on who the vice chair is?
Lowell.
Okay, so
Lowell.
Chair Aldridge, Vice Chair, Board of
Lowell.
Adjustments. Okay.
We're down to member concerns. I think some of us have driven by and taken a look at the shed at, is it 843?
843 Fifth.
And Jay, I'm under the impression you told him he could put up a temporary structure there.
Well, the property owner had called me, and I went over there and visited the site, and kind of described what he hadn't wanted to buy this, we'll just call it a half a culvert, basically is kind of what it is. And I'm comparing it to like the fabric storage units, the canvas ones, is kind of it's kind of what I pictured it being. So, you know, we kind of talked about some stuff, and I said, you know what, let's just make sure we're doing things right. Keep it 5 feet away from your garage and your sheds, and 10 feet away from your house. And truthfully, the corner lot thing didn't even cross my mind. But in the end, I think it's so simply movable, and it's not causing a problem. I don't understand why we need to even talk about it.
So if it's going to be moved, that's great with me. You know, if at some point in time, if it comes spring or whatever, if it moved, I'd be happy.
Well, I mean, to me, it can be moved easily, so if it's not causing an issue, why do we make them move it?
It's not meeting the side yard setback.
Right, but he could park.
8 feet short of meeting the setback on the. off
I
the
understand,
avenue.
yeah, I understand that. And what problem is it causing?
And it's not only about 3 feet away from his garage on the other side.
And what problem
And
is
it
it causing?
appears more to be of a shed type thing than one of these canvas temporary tents per se.
Right,
Because
I
he
mean,
studded the ends and sheeted it with OSB on the front and back
Oh.
and put, I don't know if it's steel or aluminum sheeting, horizontal, up the sides and the top. So it's not like, again, it's not like one of these canvas tents. If it was the only shed sitting in his yard, I probably wouldn't have thought too much of it, but he's got a 24 garage with an 8x12 shanty tacked onto the side of that. Then he's got another 8x12 barn-shaped shed in the yard with a 4x7 shed tacked onto the back of that. And now this, so if you total all this up, you're talking about 5 buildings.
well, if they're
Get the name
added onto, it's only considered one, so.
Pardon?
If they're added onto, it's only considered one building.
Well,
And all that stuff
That's
happened
kind of a gray
prior to
area.
me being here.
so you can, and of course, no permits out for none of them. So we could keep just adding shacks on the shacks, and it'd be just like a train going down through his yard. He
So,
came over jumping on my porch tonight.
Well, it sounds like you were on his property, maybe
said what?
doing some measuring also.
No, I was measuring in the alley. Never went to his house.
I don't know. I'll do whatever the commission wants, but I kind of feel like some people get picked on.
Now, he says, I haven't got no place else to put it. Well, he could put it on the east side of the house.
That's all I got to say. It's not harming
The
anything.
fact
I
that
mean,
you say, oh, it looks okay, the fact is it's supposed to be 15 feet.
well, if it's easily movable and temporary, why does it have to meet the setbacks? It says it doesn't have to in our code.
Yeah, but it's not a collapsible building per se. When it's got studded ends and
Well, I mean, that's,
steel sheeting on it.
that's your opinion. I mean,
I would like to
Well,
see,
I look at it as me, him, and Lowell could pick it up and move it if we wanted to.
When that garage disappeared on Fifth Street, was that a movable shed? But it went down the road, didn't it?
Whatever you guys want me to do.
I would like to see it eventually meet setback. So sometime over the summer, I'd like it to see it meet setback. I don't know what other people feel. I hate to start setting precedents about people being able to put a shed up without meeting setback and, you know,
Yeah, it'll be tough. I mean, corner lots are tough on people with small lots,
yeah.
so. How about, what do you guys think?
Well, I think it should meet setback. I really do. Does it say, honestly, say somewhere in our code that you don't have to meet setbacks for temporary things?
Well,
Is that-
it says a structure has to meet setbacks. So you gotta just decipher if you consider it a structure or not.
Okay, but canvassy things, that doesn't have to meet, like, if it's there 6 months, that's, I'm not sure. See,
Well,
and I kind of go back and forth, you know, does it hurt anything, you just said, and, well, I guess not, but there's a lot of things that don't hurt anything, and it's not harming anything, but it's the rule, and so I kind of go back and forth. It's, you know, is it 5 feet, you know, and, but then there's a lot of people that break the rules when I drive around here, and lots of sheds have broken the rules, and, you know, I don't know. Like, I just don't think we can pick on one person on 9th Street. I think we have to pick on everyone. That's just my opinion, that we can't just single out people we don't like, or our neighbors, because we don't like that thing there, and not enforce something that's on the corner of A Street and Almac, or something like that, because he's on the city council, or, you know, whatever. I just think everything it's like being a good parent, I guess, is you want to be consistent, and you want to follow the rules. So I don't know. That's just the way I feel. And I looked at the website, I'll be done in a second. I looked at the website because I was talking to one of the commissioners. I'm like, if I didn't know you guys, I would probably, the first place I'd go is the website. If I didn't know someone who lived in Proctor and I'm new and a new resident and I didn't know anything, I would go to the website. So I did that tonight, and I was like, ooh, it had frequently asked questions. Ooh, I'm going to click on that. And it does address, I was really happy, it does address, you know, sheds, and I thought, well, this is good. And then I went down a couple more things, the third thing down, and I clicked on that, and it was like accessory buildings or something. And again, it was very clear to me, you know, what the setbacks were. And I think it makes it easy then for a city administrator, easier for a city administrator or a building inspector to say, well, did you go to the website before you built this? And, you know, they could say no. And then you could say, oh, you have to meet setbacks. And then you have it easy out, in my opinion. Because I don't like being the bad guy either. I mean, I'd have a tough time with your jobs because I don't want to be the jerk. But
Yeah,
I think there's rules there for a reason. We have to follow them. I'm just going to say that. And I brought up, like, Dave Brenna's, how he has 4 sheds on his property. This was back last April when we were talking about plastic sheds and, you know, on 8th Street and blah, blah, blah. And so I brought up some things, but certain things just get swept away, I think, you know, and, oh, we're not going to enforce that one, but we're going to enforce this one on 9th Street. You know, that's the way I feel. I'll be done.
I think we've got to look at, how long has this thing been there?
No, just a couple, well,
it's
just,
short.
How
Not
long is he
more than
planning
3
on keeping
months.
it there? You know, that's, you know, when you're going to look at it as a temporary movable structure or thing, entity, or is it a permanent entity? You know, is he intending for it to be permanent? And if that's the case, then by gosh, it should meet the setbacks. If it's just something you threw up for the winter to keep his snowmobile in or his boat in, then, and he's going to come down in the spring, then it's not, you know, I don't think it's an issue. But if he's planning on having this thing there for any length of time, then I think it's an issue.
And then what about like the canvas ones with the, you know, the steel frame and then just the fabric? How do you guys feel about those?
If they're putting them up to be a forever thing, then they should meet the setback requirements.
Because there's all sorts of them around.
Well, then we need to do a better job of it, I think. And people need to be informed of that. You know, and how hard is it to meet a 5-foot side yard setback? You know, for the most case, you know, it isn't, I don't think it's all that difficult.
Well, no, but we're talking a corner lot, 20-foot setback. It's the corner lot that's getting them.
Yeah, but okay, then,
And the corner lot setback is for visibility.
I understand that. And if it isn't obscuring the visibility, then I think that they could come and get a variance if they want to have it there for any length of time, and we would grant it.
But that over there is a total lot of 64.5 foot, and he's got about 25 feet of open space to the east side of the house. So why does it have to be crammed between the trees and the garage? That's,
Yeah, I mean, if there's alternatives and, you know, just because, oh, it's got hoops and it's got some canvas or plastic on the sides, I don't think that gives them a free pass. You know, that's my opinion.
So, back in October 2019, Jim, you brought up the canopy on 8th Avenue,
yep,
corner lot, right? So then, my answer was, well, we kind of doesn't, you know, it's temporary, it's movable, it's collapsible, we really don't have any language that addresses it. So you requested that we draft up language regarding temporary structures, and then it kind of just got forgotten about. So we've talked about it before, admitting that it needs some work, so.
yeah.
And then what
temporary
happened to that? That
structure
one's
with-
still sitting there, he never moved that.
What's that?
That one is still there, we never made him move that one, or take it down.
No, I brought it up, and you're right, yeah, nothing was done about it.
We asked for
And the
language.
That one isn't even out of the right-of-way, much less setback, and ain't got enough separation between the garage and either, sitting right in the driveway.
I'm just saying that we requested language about temporary structures, and it just got forgotten about.
Temporary structures are like when the fair comes to town and puts up them tents up there in the fairgrounds. That's temporary structures.
Well, that'd be for us to define, if we're gonna.
That's what we wanted is.
Now, if nothing is done
Definition for it.
with this over there, it'll stay there. Because he comes around and says, I ain't got no place else to put it.
Jay, on the one in
So it don't
question,
meet the setback from the street and don't meet the setback from the garage.
on the one in question, how many accessory buildings are there now?
Well, I would say 3.
Plus this one?
No, it's 3 including that one.
Okay.
Although, like Jim said, 2 of them have been added on to,
Yes,
kind of haphazardly, but I guess I would just consider that one structure.
yeah.
Were they permitted, the add-ons?
I never looked back at it.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm not saying we gotta go jump on the guy for it, but if they, you know, like you can have a 200 square foot shed now without a permit, I believe, right?
Correct, yep.
Zoning permit only. So how many square feet are these, you know, sheds that are the things that he has and all that? You know, I mean, so,
Yeah, the one shed he's got over on the side of the garage, that's 8 by 12. And the
Okay.
8 by 12 barn shed that's in the backyard. Then he's got a 4 by 6 shed tacked on the back of that one.
well, he's
And
still
now
under,
this-
well, he's still under 200 square feet then.
Huh?
He's still under 200 square feet.
With all the buildings.
Well, if it's 8 by 12, that's, what's that, 96?
96.
Yeah.
You know, with a small addition on it, you gotta, so he's still under the 200 square feet, so he's.
Still doesn't need to be permitted, but it still needs to meet setbacks, so.
Right.
So Jay, are you saying we should have, like visit what is a temporary structure and should it meet setback, and that's what we should discuss at some point? Because I agree, I would like to maybe discuss this further and just figure it out. Because it comes up often, I think.
When he talked to you originally on it, Jay, he said that this was just going to be a temporary,
No. No, he didn't say that.
oh,
I told him that I considered it like a temporary structure, and when I say temporary structure, I mean something that can easily be removed or removed. Whether it stays there for 1 year or 10 years doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, to me, a temporary structure is something that's just there for a season.
Short
You know,
term.
you put it up there to store your boat in for the winter, or something like that. That's a temporary structure. A temporary structure isn't there for multiple years.
So that we just need to define it and put it in the code.
John Bray, can you help us out with that?
Yes, I can.
So people looking at temporary as a year or less?
I think that we should explore some other zoning ordinances and what
That'd
other
be
zoning
wonderful.
regulations and give you some
Yeah.
options, not just, go down one path, but like fully look at what your options are for definition of temporary structures
Yeah,
are.
it's a good idea.
And then if I can, Chair Aldridge, just kind of touch on, it concerns me a little bit, Commissioner Twamy, that I know you were just in the alley, but you were out measuring. The code says that if there's a violation, perceived true or not, that violation should get reported to the building official and that they can investigate it. One, it concerns me that you're out measuring in ice and snow and you're on city official business. And two, the right path is to bring that concern to Jay or me, and then we can investigate it. And the resident was upset that you were out on not on their property, but that you were out looking, and we could feather that out a little bit easier with them and work with them rather than upsetting the property owner. It's just a suggestion. Jay and I could have, and Megan, between us, we could have a lot more information for you at the meeting if we're given a heads up and we can look at it before the meeting than right at the meeting.
Okay, just so I understand then, we can do drive-bys or walk-bys or something like that, but we should not, or we are not allowed to do anything beyond that.
I'm not saying that you're not allowed, I'm just saying that if that's the way the commission wants to operate, you can. But
Well,
if you just see like a shed might be out of place, just give us a heads up and we'll do our job. Let us do our
Right, no,
job.
no, I'm not saying I want
Yeah.
to get out and start measuring this, but,
Yeah.
because we can visualize pretty close if
Absolutely.
something's, a bad violation where it is a
Mm-hmm.
concern. But, okay, just so we're allowed to do that much anyhow.
Right. And then the other thing is that the code also says if we as zoning officials make decisions that you don't agree with, there's a process for that, for overturning our decision.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so just keep those in mind too,
That'd be my job.
Yeah.
I'd be the bad guy then. Been there, we've had to do that.
I think it's common practice for all of us, once something is on the agenda, to go and take a look. And we
Sure.
don't go on the people's property, at least I never have. But I think it's common for us to go take a look at anything that's on the agenda before we come into these meetings. And the shed in question was already on the agenda by that point. So, being in the alley or being near the property and taking a look, I think would be a common thing for us to do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying not look at it, I'm just saying that, we can go out and take those measurements and we can do
Yes.
that
Yes.
rather than the commission members having to do that.
but you're saying now that it's not legal for me to walk down the middle of the alley with a tape measure?
I did not say that it was not legal at all.
Oh, okay.
I did not say that. I said,
You just say it's not a good practice?
yeah, it puts the property owner on edge, And we're the ones that get the calls, you know, why, the property owner didn't appreciate it. We can do that as employees of the city. We can work with the property owner on that. And then you'll avoid having someone jumping up on your deck on a commission night, you know? Can't
Yeah,
restrict.
because I couldn't figure out, haven't said nothing to him about it, you know, and then comes and knocks on my door and he says, how come you don't like that shed in my yard? I said, nothing wrong with the shed, but it should be in your yard. You know, I talked nice back to him like he talked to me. And I still feel that realistically, he should, this spring, move it into his yard rather than leaving it as is.
So where are we at?
We're going to have some sample code hopefully brought to us for next month as to what is a temporary structure, and we will work from there. I don't see that this individual's in a position to be moving the shed in January.
Correct.
So I think we need to have a decision on this before April.
Sounds good. I just told them that I'd let them know what happened, so.
Yeah, I think if you don't have a definition of a temporary structure, you really can't make a decision until you define what that means to you all.
Sounds good.
Are you looking for something else?
We were under member concerns. If there are other member concerns, this would be the time.
How about a little update on that place down on South Second Avenue, that fence in the front yard that's about 4 months ago now that it was denied the variance for it, but it still stands?
I don't think, I mean,
Was he not sent a letter to cut it off or take it down, or,
well, he was at the meeting, so he knows what our decision was, but
what's that?
he was at the meeting, or he knows what the decision was. Maybe he's, I mean, it's hard to do it in the winter. I mean, I don't know.
Should that stay on our agenda as maybe unfinished business? And, I mean, it is hard to remove a fence if he wants to save those fence posts, let's say. You can't pluck them out of the ground with a mini excavator in the winter, so I don't know what his plans are, but maybe wait till May 1st and he'll be able to take care of it then, hopefully.
I mean, to give him until this spring to take some action on it wouldn't be out of line, would it?
No?
No, like May 1st or June 1st, I think that would be reasonable. But maybe just leave it on the agenda so we don't forget about it, because I kind of forgot about it.
I have a question, not a concern, more or less. What's the 40 by 60 building on Railroad Avenue? Is that for that crematorium that we had talked about?
No, I mean, was just an excavation permit. I haven't
Yeah.
seen anything
Okay,
building.
Okay, I was just curious as to what,
No.
you know, what that was all about.
I was kind of curious myself.
I don't know where else, you know, there's a whole lot of property along, you know, we're on Railroad Avenue, because other than Hartel's property, the most, you get up and it's high ground, but then you get a lot of there's some wetlands in there too, and,
Well, I think it is railroad property.
well, it's railroad. Okay, so it's on the railroad side of,
I
on the yard
believe-
side of the,
Well, I don't know for sure, Bob.
I don't either, there's no, I don't know where the heck they built it there than a parking lot. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just curious as to what, because I know we had, didn't we authorize a crematorium there? Yeah, so that's, I thought maybe that's what it was, because there was no street address for it, just Railroad Avenue.
Oh, that could be.
I think it is. It's the prep work, it's the excavation for the
Okay,
is,
yeah,
yes.
there's another point there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you're right, you're right.
Just curious.
Yeah, so that'll be coming to us, I would think sometime soon. I've talked to that guy a few times.
Yeah.
I said, make sure you give us some time, because P and Z's got to approve it first, so.
Don, is there anything update on that 842 6?
I typically don't know things by address.
What's that?
I don't know things by address.
Young doll,
Oh, no, there's no new update on that. I'll have something for you next meeting, though. She did hire a lawyer, I don't know how she did. I think it might be a favor, because this lawyer has got some Proctor roots, and he has an office in the west end of the loop.
So she doesn't want to tear it down?
No, she's agreeable to tearing it down. I don't think she's got the money to do it. And my suggestion is, well, why don't you share in the cost? We can do it, but then assess the rest of the cost of the property.
She could sell it at a reasonable price and let the buyer tear it down.
You can do that, but it's
You don't
gotta
want
be
to do
part
that
of,
either?
yeah, it's gotta be part of the purchase agreement, though, that it needs to be torn down. You can't just sell it to somebody else and then hope they tear it down. I think it's gotta be a condition on the property.
Because, like I say, the guy right next door to it will buy it if he could buy it right.
Well, yeah, I understand that, and I've told that to this lawyer, Mr. Calery.
8:42, excuse me, I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll support.
And I guess we need a roll call again.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Commissioner Lambert,
Aye.
Commissioner Twomey,
I-
Commissioner Boyson,
I,
Chair Aldridge.
Aye.